In today's video, we will try to analyze IIT JAM previous year question papers and we will try to develop a strategy so that we can score well in every topic of the examination. Now, because geology is a very vast subject, so to cover all the topics of the examination syllabus and to get prepared for the IIT JAM geology part is a tough task. So we need to analyze the paper and build some strategies of our own so that we can score good marks in that particular section. And now for today, we will discuss the mineralogy part. We will try to figure out what are the main important topics that students must focus before going into the examination. Now see, whenever we prepare for IIT JAM or for that sake any kind of competitive examination, then we will find that there are some topics from which questions are asked very frequently. And for JAM, we have several important topics like mineralogy, petrology, structural geology, stratigraphy, paleontology, economic geology and general geology and geomorphology. We will cover them in separate videos. For today, we will only focus on mineralogy part. So let's have a look on the stats. As you can see, there are the long and high bars on the graph that clearly shows that every year of JAM, questions from mineralogy is a must. And that too, a good amount of questions are being asked from this section. You can see the maximum number of questions asked from mineralogy in a particular year touches the 12th number bar, which means already 20% of total question paper is asked from mineralogy only. And you can see there is never less than 6 questions from the mineralogy section in the history of JAM examinations. So these stats are clear indication of how important the mineralogy section is for JAM's examinations. But the very next question is, the syllabus of mineralogy is so vast, it's very much difficult to cover all the concepts of mineralogy. But don't worry, we have a plan for you. Please bear with us till the very last so that you can get maximum output from this video. So here next we have a graph which shows the number of questions asked from MCQ, MSQ and numericals in different years of JAM. You can see the high green bars there. That represents the number of questions asked from mineralogy section as numericals. So make sure that you are very much strong in numericals of mineralogy. Now look at the orange bars in the middle. Those represents the number of MSQ questions asked from mineralogy. Although these bars look so small and tiny, remember there are only 10 MSQ questions. So if you get one from mineralogy also, that in itself constitutes 10% of the whole MSQ part. So we just can't ignore it, right? Okay. Now moving on to the gist of this video, that what topics we have to read, which topics to cover to get maximum marks in mineralogy part. See, I am not saying that just read these parts and go to the examination, but I must say that just don't ignore these parts because questions are asked very frequently from these sections, right? So let's start with numericals. We have selected some topics for you and from these concepts the questions are being asked repeatedly. So if you clear all these following concepts and practice all the questions asked in the examination related to these particular topics, then I am sure you have an upper hand in the examination. So the topics are composition of minerals, coordination number, polymorphism, mineralogical phase rule and phase diagram, HM symbol, stereographic projection, coordination number, parameter and indices, and finally crystal zones. Now whenever you see the numericals of JAM from mineralogy, then of course you won't get the repetition of questions, but yes, you get the repetition of the same concept. So I strongly recommend you guys to clear all these concepts and practice the JAM previous year question papers related to this part, then you will surely do well in the examination. Now if you have any doubts in NAT, MCQ or MSQ of the JAM previous year papers, then we have already made some videos on it. You can check them out. The links are in the description. Now let's move on to the MSQ part. This MSQ part is the tricky part among all the sections of the JAM. And if you want to be a rank holder in JAM's exam, then you must do well in this MSQ part. And for this part, optical mineralogy is a very favorite topic of the examiners. And apart from that, questions are also asked from stereographic projection, crystals, crystal system and the symmetry elements of them. Questions are asked from the HM symbol and stereographic projection, and finally you might get some questions from polymorphism as well. So make sure that you have a very good grip among all these concepts. And now we are left with only one part, that is MCQ part. Now because mineralogy is a very vast subject, so it's very difficult to guess actually that what questions will be asked in the MSQ part. But still we have figured out some topics that are very much important for MCQ sections of JAM. Among them, the first one is the identification of the mineral. So in JAM questions, you must have faced this type of questions where the hardness of the minerals, that is less than 4 or 5, is given, and the color of the streak or the cleavage angle, या फिर the number of sets of cleavage, etc. Any of these information would have been given in the question, and you have to identify which mineral it is. Now these type of questions are very common in JAM, but you might think that there are a lot of minerals out of there. So you might think that how can you remember all the colors, streak and different characteristics of those minerals? So don't worry, you don't have to remember them all, but yes, you need to have an idea of the properties of the important minerals. Okay, the next topic is crystal forms, more scale of hardness, and more scale you must remember which one is a oxide, which one is a hydroxide, which one is a silicate, which one is a carbonate, etc. You might get questions like which one is the strongest silicate mineral in the Mohs scale of hardness, which mineral is the strongest carbonate among them, or how many hydroxides are present in Mohs scale, etc. So make sure that you have all of them in the bag, right? Next topic is stereographic projection. You can get questions from silicate structures, and in silicate structures you will face questions like the number of oxygen that is shared, the ratio of silicon is to oxygen. You may have to match the column with the minerals and their silicate structures. So be prepared for that. Next we have coordination number. So if you go through the previous year question papers video, so there we have discussed in brief about the coordination number and the concepts behind it. I think that will be enough, but still if you have any doubt then you can comment there. Next we have twinning. Now this is a very important part for BHU, PU, etc. But in JAM as well you get questions from twinning, like which mineral shows which kind of twinning, etc. If you want to grasp the concept of twinning, then you know the deal. The link is in the description, go and check it out. So next we have the characteristics feature of minerals. Like whenever it comes to forced cleavage, the name of fluorite comes to our mind, right? Similarly, if you think about high specific gravity, then obviously the answer is barite, galena, etc. Similarly, whenever you think about acicular habit, the first thing that comes to your mind is kyanite. So like that, you have to cover all the characteristics features of the minerals. And next we have the end member of different mineral groups. You can think of something like what is the magnesium end member of olivine, what is the iron end member of olivine, which is a sodic rich feldspar and which is a calcic feldspar, etc. Although you may not get the direct questions like that in JAM, but of course these concepts will help you to solve the numericals as well. So that's it for today guys. Hope this is helpful for you, and if you want videos on your topic then please mention that below. Thank you.